Job making an adjustment as they return to campus. And to give you a little feel, to date, we've had less than 10 student athletes and 2 staff members who have tested positive for COVID, with all but one of those that were infected having returned to their workouts and/or work at this time. So again, less than 10 student athletes, 2 staff members, but only 1 active case right now. So meaning that all those that did positive have returned either to their voluntary workouts or to their work environment. And based on the contact tracing from those positive tests, we currently have about 20 student athletes who are still in some phase 10-day quarantine period, but each of those student athletes has tested negative. So as we look forward to our fall sports, football, volleyball, soccer, and cross country officially beginning practice during the first week, our testing protocols will be enhanced, and that will include at that point in time some rapid response testing on a weekly basis for all participating student athletes in those fall sports. And you may have seen about an hour or so ago that the NCAA released kind of their 3rd version of their medical guidelines and recommendations that included testing prior to at least 72 hours prior to the competition, an institution, and as a conference to fall in line with those plans. And so that's the COVID kind of update. And I'll get through a few of these updates and then open it up for questions. So the outlook on football to date. I think you're all aware that on Monday, the SEC ADs Birmingham to discuss a number of issues with an obvious focus on the upcoming football season. And what I can tell you, and I think probably what you've heard this week, is that we're going to continue to be patient as a conference before making any decisions. There's several options that are on the table right now. The first option still being the 12-game schedule that for us starts on November 5th versus Nevada, followed by a road game on September 12th at Notre Dame. We can't move on to the second option until we eliminate the first option. And that first option is still very much on the table, as are other options. The impact of the Pac-12 and Big Ten decisions have been minimal. Really only 2 games, Colorado at Texas A&M and Alabama and USC down in Dallas. So those decisions by those other Power 5 conferences those are the only 2 games we lost. And so as we sit here today, what I believe from my conversations with Commissioner Sankey, that the SEC, the Big 12, and the ACC are on the same page as far as our collective desire to be patient before making any decisions. When you look at some of the in-state rivalries that exist, especially between the SEC and the ACC, it seems to make sense that Clemson should play South Carolina, and Georgia should play Georgia Tech, and Florida should play Florida State. And so just eliminating those games because you want to play a conference-only schedule, at least at this point, does not make a great deal of sense. Football games at Razorback Stadium, our event operations and external team in consultation with the Arkansas Department of Health are finalizing a plan for football games at Razorback Stadium, as well as soccer and volleyball games this fall. We're working toward a goal to be able to accommodate each of the 32,700 season ticket holders who make a choice to attend the game, to continue with their season tickets, along with our students. Attending games this year is going to involve several changes. First, being mobile ticketing. There will most likely be some staggered entry times for fans, assigned entry gates. There'll You will see defined directional movement of patrons on concourses and aisles, meaning when you're on the concourse, you'll go down one way and come back the other. And it'll be
hello. It's our Tuesday edition here of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio on KDSJ 479, as we're here each and every day, Monday through Friday from 1 to 2 p.m. And we continue to let you hear audio from Arkansas AD Hunter Yurachek. For those that didn't get a chance throughout listening to our show, some of what Hunter had to say in regards to football season and just the fall sports as a whole. But I want to bring in my producer as today. It's the show for you guys. You can call us 601-7400. You can shoot us questions through our Facebook Live page. That's On the Hill Sports Talk. Or you can hit us up via our YouTube live stream. That's On the Hill Sports Talk, LLC. But the show's for y'all. I mean, let's talk about all of the fall sports. Men's and women's basketball, football, volleyball if you have interest. Anything that comes to mind, Razorback athletics. Let's talk about it in depth. And also, too, with the NCAA coming out with the okay for schools now to move their opening game up to August 29th, I think that's a really good idea. The SEC, ACC, and Big 12 hadn't made their decisions as to how they're going to divvy up their season. Will it be all conference games plus one? That's still yet to be determined. But Demetrius, with the NCAA coming out and saying that these teams and programs can move up their date to August the 29th, has to be kind of a small, maybe not a big ray of hope, but a small glimmer of hope that we will have collegiate football on the horizon.
Yeah, I think before the show, you were telling me about colleges have been allotted to possibly move it up a week if they could.
You see Oklahoma's playing Bobby Petrino and Missouri State on August the 29th.
No, I didn't see that. Yeah, I gotta go look that up. So, could you mention some of the interesting games that are kind of in that week one, or I should say that early day?
We're gonna get Michigan, Alabama, I believe, is playing Oregon, Arkansas. The thing that I think Arkansas needs to preserve, you and I agree, for selfish reasons. I mean, let's just call it like we see it, is Notre Dame. You can take away every other kind of non-conference game, Nevada, whatnot. Just don't take away Notre Dame.
Yeah, and Notre Dame's interesting because they joined the ACC,
right,
and I was talking before the show, and we were talking about how the NCAA is kind of they're beginning to be a lot smaller in the powers at hand. When you look at the Power 5 conferences and what they need to actually function as a whole, and you're starting to see these entities gain more power about wanting to do their own thing, and I think eventually you're going to see some type of merger between the SEC and possibly the ACC and maybe another one of these Power 5 conferences.
Which leads my next question, and this is for all our viewers, and we want you to chime in by all social media outlets via phone or Facebook Live or our YouTube live stream. But my question would be, is it better for college football to have interconference football games where you get the 10, 11 plus 1 out of a 12-game season? I mean, what's your opinion on that? To me, I really like that. I think what you will see through this very uncommon collegiate football season is that it's about coaching, it's about conference power, and balance. And I think when you throw all those ingredients, none other than the SEC. The SEC will continue to flourish, Demetrius, even more so financially, I believe, through this season than any other because of the matchups that they're able to, string together week in and week out.
Yeah, I definitely think when you look at it from a TV contract and an entertainment standpoint, it benefits the SEC to play each other. But then when you look at it, especially when it comes to playoff times, this is just discussion we have at the end of the year of, are these conferences evenly balanced as far as good teams top to bottom? When you look at the SEC, everybody talks about, the SEC loses to the ACC, or the ACC is better than the conference. But we all know top to bottom that the SEC has at least 6+ teams that can compete against
Missouri
any conference.
And Vanderbilt, or Mississippi State and Vanderbilt, Arkansas and Vanderbilt. Let's throw it in because let's just quit trying to say that Arkansas hadn't been one of the lesser-known SEC programs over the last 3 years, and that's not saying it in any disrespectful way. I mean, let's just put that out there, but let's be realistic. An Arkansas-Vanderbilt game is way more attractive, Demetrius, on Saturday at 2:30 than Michigan playing at Purdue.
Absolutely. Even when you look at just the fan bases as a whole, and like the SEC motto is it just means more.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna get that support no matter what. I think when you even look at, I bet if you did a poll as far as who's asking for football to come back, I guarantee you it's going to be that southern region of the states that's really asking for that, because it's so embedded in our culture being from the South. Sports, I won't even just seclude it to football. I just think sports in general is just so embedded in the culture and what we need to keep things moving.
The collegiate towns in the South ACC or SEC got towns like Clemson, South Carolina, or Fayetteville, or like we said, Oxford, Starkville, maybe Chapel Hill, places like that have small markets that are college-based towns. Those towns rely on the collegiate dollar, in particular, football dollars. I think in the South that, just like I said, it means more. It's more important because collegiately you're going to have to rely on the athletic money to help build a better engineering facility for prospective students, a better educational facility. And I think that's just something that people have not yet come to grips with. As I understand the pandemic and safety first over all else, but at the end of the day, it's about being able to continue moving forward with your life, and the SEC is no different. I mean, they have to have money to fund a lot of different programs that they're going to have to prepare for. And like I said, this very uncommon era of fall sports, both on the football field and when men and women get back on that basketball court.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree. Like you said, Arkansas has definitely had a fall off these last 2 or 3 years, and you saw a difference. Even the way the dollar was spent in Fayetteville just with that losing streak. So I know it can have a detrimental effect on the town. I even look at some of the sponsors that we had. When Arkansas was winning versus now, they lost a lot of clientele just due to Arkansas having that downfall and guys not deciding to bring their families in on the weekend. So, that is going to be very, very interesting, the dynamics of, one, a limited amount of fans being able to come to games and limiting the amount of money that's actually going to be brought to the town due to, the amount of fans that can actually attend the games. So I'm even interested in to see concession stand wise and things like that.
Nick, guy, very loyal viewer, and always has great questions, Demetrius. But did you see that one on KJ? I'll read that without you like to take a shot at that first?
Hey, Nick, Nick, you my guy, but nah, bro. I think and it's a great opinion because we've seen it with AJ Derby, so I can understand. Why you can see that change, but I just think with the way Sam Pittman is able to recruit, I don't think we'll have to make those type of drastic position changes. Yeah, for sure. I think with Sam Pittman, you won't see drastic position changes like that. If you do, you may see a wide receiver go over, that's a little bulkier, go over to the tight end position, or maybe an offensive lineman switch over to the defensive lineman, or athletic defensive end goes to the linebacker position. But
I think with the way Kendall Browse and that offensive staff will use the tight end in various ways, it's not going to be a problem for John Cooper and Kendall Browse to get a adequate tight end. And I think, like you said, Demetrius, you made a good point yesterday with Henry. If he can come in and be that 5-star redshirt freshman and be a productive football player for Arkansas, all these 4- and 5-star tight ends across the country are really going to pay attention to that. And like I said, I think Arkansas's offense will be very attractive to a lot of skill position players going forward under Sam Pittman. I'm really excited to see all the different things that they'll be able to do schematically here in Fayetteville.
And I think that's another thing that I can take from that point though, Nick, is that these guys are their IQ of football is a lot higher than I think a lot of the previous coaching staffs we've had. I think the last great mind at football, as far as the head coaching, you're going to see it with the wins, is Bobby Petrino. Everybody will say that was the last really good coach that Arkansas had. Even when you look at Bielema in his resume that he had coming from Wisconsin. Yeah, but even his resume from Wisconsin was built on Barry Alvarez. That was not his body of work. That was not his teams that he recruited. So even the resume that he had was very inflated because he came into a winning program before he even took over as head coach. So again,
you always said he tried to recruit a Big Ten athlete to an SEC conference. Not gonna get it.
Well, even that, I just don't think he knew how to build a team. Like I said, I think he came in to a team that was already built and prepared and thought he knew how to recruit.
Nick is on it today, boys. Nick is on it today, and we'll respond to that question because it's a really good question.
The question is, let me go ahead and read it to the listeners if you're not don't see it. Hornsby and Jefferson are one class from each other, and both are high-starred QB. Something got to give, and I agree. I do believe
space with those guys.
No, I'm gonna tell you what it is. I'm gonna tell you Arkansas is in the perfect position.
The room's got to be competitive.
They have the ability. You're going to see what they did at Clemson, where every year you saw a new guy take over the reins, and you didn't really see a drop off. And right. I'm talking about. I can go even before Deshaun Washington. Who was before? Was it Taj Boyd? That was before Deshaun. And there was another guy that was before Taj Boyd that kind of got him started. Who was?
His name was Streeter.
Who?
I think it was a quarterback named Streeter.
I can't remember, but even if you look at that, the passing of the reins from like quarterback, and then you look at Alabama, all the great teams, you need a 3-deep quarterback.
And I'm of the belief, I don't know, and I might be in the small minority, but and I can't even say I'm agreeing with Chad Morris on this because I didn't agree with much. But 5 quarterbacks have to be on scholarship. I mean, you're at a Power 5 program in the SEC. That's just going to be a norm at any position, and it should be that there's going to be a player behind you maybe just as good, or he comes in with even more accolades. I think that's where Power 5 programs like the Alabamas, LSUs, Clemsons, Ohio States, they separate themselves.
Absolutely.
You have to be very productive, not just in football, but you got to be productive in that classroom to hold your spot, and I think that's what Sam Pittman and his staff are going to bring to the University of Arkansas. Demetrius, it's not been too far. We didn't have a quarterback.
And I'm glad you said Ohio State, because I can think back to Terrell Pryor. I can't remember Ohio State having a bad quarterback within the last 10 to 15 years.
Think about it. Joe Burrow had to leave. He was a 4-star.
Exactly. I really can't think of the last time Ohio State had and of course guys didn't win the Heisman
Justin Fields goes from Georgia to Ohio State. He's a 4-star.
Exactly. Like that's what you want in a championship program. I hate to say it like this, but you want guys not scared to come to your program, but you want guys that only want to compete because they know when they come to this university, they're going to have to be the absolute best to come on the field and play.
And if you have guys transferring because they can't get on the football,
absolutely, that's a good thing.
Then the evaluation process at your university,
that's a good thing.
As far as your coaching staff goes, is a very good thing. I mean, you have good players, and look at the transfer portal for Alabama and those teams that we just mentioned.
Absolutely.
Xavier Kelly, Arkansas gets this guy from Clemson. I mean, who was one of those guys that felt like he wanted a little bit more playing time, but they're so stacked on the defensive line. And that's no disrespect to Xavier Kelly, because, I think this guy's going to come to Fayetteville and be one of the leaders on the defense because of all the experiences that he's had in big ball games.
Yeah, and I think, again, we're not saying we want players to get recruited to Arkansas and transfer the next year, but what we're saying is the strong are going to survive when they come to Arkansas. The guys that, and I'm talking about going forward with the type of coaches and the type of mindset that I know Sam Pittman has had, especially being around Georgia, because you see it all the time at Georgia.
Right.
There were quarterbacks transferring year in, year out. There were running backs coming in, year out. So it's like guys have to know when you get recruited by Sam Pittman, you're going to come in and compete. You're going to have to come in and do your due diligence. You're going to have to come in. Nothing's going to be given to you. And I think when you're trying to get to the NFL level, you have to have that type of pressure because you're dealing with the best of the best.
Yes,
you're dealing with elite talent.
There should be 4 deep with NFL talent at every position, at least 3 deep. It's what I firmly believe collegiate football. To be a great program, you have to be at least 3 deep at every position. And out of the 3 deep, 2 of those guys have to be prospective pros. Just my humble opinion.
I think when you're talking national championship, you're absolutely right. You may be able to compete within your conference
Right.
and have a couple of good years here and there.
40 pros on offense and 40 pros. You give me about 20 pros on offense, 20 on defense.
You're gonna get you a championship,
win some games.
and then you spread that in two classes. You know,
Right.
you look over. You spread that 40 plus in two classes, and you're gonna have. You're going to be in the range for, if not a national championship berth, at least a high bowl game. And that would be tremendous for Arkansas to get back into those modern days where they're competing for the top bowl games like back in the SWAC days. It's been a long time since Arkansas has been to those good bowls. And everybody say the Texas Bowl, but that was only a good bowl to Arkansas because the history
Because
of
struggled over the coming year.
Not even
years prior.
Not even just the struggle, but just the history between the Texas, the team that we played in that game,
Right.
Kansas, that's what that was about. But
Well, we're going to take a real quick break, and then before we take our final, that'll be our final break for the day, and then we'll come in. If you got more questions, shoot them to us. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins, and it's our Tuesday edition on KDSJ 479. Back in a second.
Limited members of the media on the sidelines. There'll be no on-field presentations or recognitions, and still yet to be determined if we'll have any performances by band or cheerleaders on the field. So some of the things that really make football games and college football special, the pageantry that we're all used to, probably not going to exist in a college football venue this year. Financially, football is incredibly important to us at the University of Arkansas, and I think my fellow SEC members would say the same thing. For us, it generates about $70 million of our approximately $124 million budget. Not to mention the economic impact that Razorback football has across Northwest Arkansas and across our state. So obviously, if we're not able to play football, challenging financial decisions as a director of athletics that I'm going to have to make. What I will tell you that the safety, the health, and well-being of our student athletes will always be first and foremost, and we will never compromise that. But if we can find a way to safely play football, soccer, volleyball, and cross country this fall, that is our number one goal. So I will stop right there, and we'll open up. Bob, you got a question already?
Better it, Bob.
Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
Everybody,
Okay.
we'll do 2 questions and then rotate so we can try to get through everybody, okay?
Governor Hutchinson announced today that he was going to have, a statewide mask mandate. I was wondering your reaction to that. And then the second part of that is the Georgia governor, I can't name, but he's basically repealing all the local mandates in his state about masks. Just wondering what your feelings are about those decisions.
Well, I fully support the governor. I fully support my good friend Doug McMillan and the staff at Walmart for the decision that they made. I fully support the Board of Trustees for our system and the decision that they made. It's a shame, in my opinion, that wearing a mask has to become a political decision. To me, it's just the right thing to do. What we've heard from medical personnel, and me and my family, we are active mask wearers, as are all of our staff members that have come to work. And I think it's the right thing to do, not only for yourself, but for everyone you come in contact with.
And then the second question, you sound optimistic about being able
Welcome
to
back
compete
to
in
the
various
Tuesday
sports
edition
this
of
fall.
OTH here on KDSJ 479, and it's your show today. To all viewers, listeners that want to chime in, you can call us at 479-601-7400. You can also email us your questions and comments on our Facebook page. That's On the Hill Sports Talk, and YouTube live stream is On the Hill Sports Talk LLC. You can shoot us on those. I'm telling you, man, any BCS game is heaven. That's what Nick Lee said. Great question, and I agree with you. I mean,
I can understand with the track record right now with Arkansas.
Man.
You absolutely right, Nick. I gotta take what I can get right
I
now.
think, realistically, from our vantage point where we sit and knowing recruiting and whatnot, I think you really, as a Razorback fan, should not expect those New Year's Six bowls until going into year 3. I think Coach Pittman and his staff needs more time to build the class. It will be done a lot quicker. I mean, this is not going to be no 4 or 5 year plan. I don't believe. I think in year 3, that's when he'll have enough in place, and with the maturity of the Traylon Burks, Trey Knox class, I think that's when you'll take a step. I think it'll be even more hysteria in year 3 than I think it was with Bobby Petrino in year 3. The year Arkansas got beat 24-20 by Alabama here in Fayetteville. Ryan Mallett, quarterback. I think Arkansas will have more hysteria going into year 3 under Pittman than we did under Petrino.
Absolutely. You know, I think the hysteria is going to start this Notre Dame game, and that's why I think that game is so crucial for Arkansas
to go to the Golden Dome if that game is to be kept on schedule, and they're able to play that, go out there and somehow steal that football game.
You know, like I said, that to me is going to be the one game that can automatically separate Sam Pittman and really give Razorback fans the feeling that, okay, things are going to change now. You know, it can be, and I won't even say again, he doesn't even have to go in there and really win the game. He could lose by a touchdown,
just compete,
and go in and play at a high level and give Razorback fans that feeling like, okay, I see things coming together. Because I remember going to see Chad Moore's game 1 and watching the offense and seeing off the rip that, okay, these guys wasted a whole offseason in a spring because these guys look like they've never played in this offense before, and it was obvious that the coaches didn't know how to install what it was that they were trying to get these players to grasp.
Teaching is definitely going to be key for all programs in collegiate football, coaching staff. Teaching is definitely going to be key by how you were able to disseminate your information through all those virtual and Zoom meetings, you know, by position. I think that's going to really come out. And then, you know, when you're able to walk out on the football field, as the NSA will allow the mini camps, OTAs, so to speak, with at least these guys can get a football in their hands, their walkthroughs, and yeah, that's going to be real paramount. I mean, we'll see who's been thorough and who hadn't been thorough this year in college football. I mean, that's for dang sure. I mean, 100%. You know what? If you have any more questions, be sure and get that into us as we're about to wrap up today's show. We just wanted to have a sit down, let you guys talk to us, and then we give answers back. Also, want everybody to know, as I always say, all beats produced here on the Hill Sports Talk are cooked up and made by Sauced Up Entertainment LLC. Go check them out. Look at their YouTube page. That's Sauced Up Entertainment LLC. And find out what those guys got going on. I'm pretty sure you're like, put something in your bowl because they cook it real good. But that's what's responsible for my beats, what I'm playing on my show, the sauce that I got.
The drill.
You see? You see how I got that going.
And I got to give a special shout out to my guy, Conley 3. A lot of the beats you hear on here is my guy. He put in a lot of work, so I got to give my guy a shout out.
Oh, Conley for 3. Yeah, Conley, he gonna be doing some things for us through our web.
You know what? Before we go to Pat, we gotta talk a little basketball because we spoke about football the whole show. Let's
basketball it up.
Let's give a little rip. So
you wanna go men? You wanna go women?
No, we'll go women. What's the take on women? We haven't really spoke about women.
Man, I really think with this Mike Neighbors basketball team in year 4, coaches built a culture that these girls not only hope to win, but they expect to win. They feel like they can go into every SEC game and have an adequate chance to step on their floor and come out with the W. And when you look at the talent, the backcourt at Arkansas, outside of what South Carolina has, and they have an exceptional backcourt, very young, I might add, too, might be the second best backcourt in all of the SEC and one of the top 5 backcourts in college basketball with Dungy, Ramirez, and whom I think, and ESPN has come out and rated the top grad transfer pickup in all of women's collegiate basketball, Destiny Slocum, a young lady by way of Oregon State. All Pac-12 first-team point guard her last 2 years in the Pac-12, averaged 15 points. I mean, this lady's going to bring a lot. And I think that addition with Alana Eaton and the freshman class that they have coming in, man, you better watch out. Better watch out for
Coach man, Pat. Nick just asked another great football question. So let me read it out. So Nick says, what would really hype or hurt Arkansas football right now would be scheduling A-State. Keeps money in the state and starts a true rivalry. Stop hiding from them. What say you?
I say it wouldn't even be a contest. Nothing you can gain by playing in-state talent. You already have the top players in your program. If you win in the SEC, you're going to get those kids. Let's just be blatantly honest. No disrespect to A-State, but You gain nothing by staying in state and keeping the money in state. You have to get your brand out. I mean, we're dealing with the SEC, and when you can get into a Louisiana or Texas or Georgia and play somebody that is of the same caliber as a state, you do that because, I mean, you got to branch out. You got to be a nationally recruiting program if you're going to be competing. If you're Arkansas, you can't just stay in state. You gain nothing. You lose, in my opinion. That's just me personally. You lose, and I mean, you're gonna. Average talent at Arkansas will beat and should beat A-State talent. That's just me, and I'm not, like I said, no disrespect, but it's SEC. It's SEC.
You know, I'm gonna take take on a different approach. I'm gonna say Arkansas, because of the last 3 years, and I'll say due to what Arkansas State has done in the last 3 years, because they've beat some credible Division I programs.
Right.
That
I say that because I mean
Arkansas,
San Jose.
you know, yeah.
So maybe in these couple years, but how often over a 5-6 year
but
period
again, we're not talking about the future. He just said should Arkansas, and I say
right
yes.
Now?
I say right now yes. The reason why I say that, because from a Arkansas standpoint, being selfish, yes, it does hurt Arkansas. But when you think of from the state of Arkansas, and we're talking about one race,
I think by year 3 it won't even be close.
But year 3, it may be time to cut that game off.
So then, if you start it with the way the state of Arkansas, they won't want to quit it. If you give them a taste of something, they want more
and that's
and more
fine,
and more.
because I think it does more for the state, for
So where do
everybody.
you play that game? Does A-State get a home game?
Oh no, you go to Little Rock, baby.
I think every game. I think in that situation, you come to Fayetteville.
Nah, you go to Little Rock. You take it to the middle of the state, and you play the battle. You battle for the state.
Arkansas can't lose 20,
See,
30,000. I think you have to bring it to Fayetteville.
Whoa! You're right.
Big fat chick to come
You're right.
each and every year to
You're right. You're right. If you're gonna play it from
you have to win that way. Then I would be all for it if they did that.
I agree.
I'll be up for that.
I agree. The reason why when you made it about money, and we're talking about making it financially, feasible for both states and a win-win, you're right.
Yes, we did lose to Portland State. I know we didn't.
Hey, that was
Portland State, but the one thing that I
hit him, Nick.
is when you have a staff, and I mean, this is just a better staff, and I don't think Portland State will walk out there with the staff that Coach Pittman has.
I agree, though.
Opposed to what Morris put together, and we even be talking about this.
I
think
agree.
San Jose State plays a Sam Pittman coach football team, and it's not even close.
But I will say, I think Portland State is half of the reason why Sam Pittman is even here today. I feel like if we wouldn't have got that low, because that's
San Jose
that's
State is about 80%.
bro, that's the lowest of the lows.
Oh, man, they got beat by San Jose State.
That's almost like getting beat by New Mexico State or somebody.
Boy.
Like, that's the lowest, especially when San Jose. That's the lowest of the lows.
And I agree, Nick. We did win, but we lost you. Now, that's a good point. That is a good point because, like I said, it goes back to what I keep saying. Portland State is like A-State. They should not have been on the football field with an SEC West caliber type of football team. It shouldn't happen. So we're still talking about apples and oranges. Same situation. Same situation.
I can see your point, though, but I still think it's good for the state. I think it could be a big money game. I think versus you giving those big checks to San Jose State or Portland State, you give it to a State and keep it in state.
Money Chad and them gave away.
Man, he made some people rich.
Colorado State.
Hey, he made some people rich.
Western Kentucky.
I know we gave Colorado a meal plus for those 2 years we played them.
Goodness. He lost 4. He had 4 losses that he shouldn't have had. Then he's 8 and 16 in 2 years. So he'll knock off a couple of those losses. 4-20 is ridiculous.
Man.
But guys, that's going to do it here for our Tuesday edition. We'll be back with much more. Nick, great questions. Want to thank you for those. Okay, Nick, always be locked in. D.
And Nick, my guy, special shout out to Nick, man. You helped the
keep
show.
going. All right,
You helped the show move, so I really appreciate you, bro, for
right.
intertwining.
For my producer, we want to give a shout out to the sponsors that make this thing possible. With that being said, Lindsay and Associates with an office location in Fayetteville. An office location also too in Rogers. That's Locomotion. They're located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall in Fayetteville. Corey Beck's Custom Painting, and lastly, the one we always talk about, KDK's Chicken. They're down at 989 South Razorback Road. Go see Keith and Kathy. Get some of that love, and they say it on the building. It's not your mama's. We say it's the best chicken and waffles in the South. Meet us there or beat us there. That's KDK's Chicken at 989 South Razorback Road. Open Tuesday through Sunday from 11 to 8, I believe 11 to 7. Go check them out. Just get some of what they got going on. And then lastly, my producer, Demetrius Johnson, and myself. We're going to holler at you tomorrow. This has been our Tuesday edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. You guys have a blessed one, and you know what the final words always got to be. So let's get it.